Hello and welcome back to Storytime. Today we're going to head to the Western Isles of Scotland to learn about the Blue Men of Minch. The Minch separates the Scottish mainland from the northwesterly islands of Lewis and Harris. It's a wide stretch of water where even the most seasoned mariner has cause to be wary, for storms and squalls blow up to toss boats here and there, and a careless skipper might easily steer his ship to splinters upon the skerries. The water is home to porpoises, dolphins and minke whales, and the air is alive with fulmars and gannets, puffins, kittiwakes and razorbills. The great Arctic skua is the scourge of the skies, but every now and again, even these great brown beasts are dwarfed completely by a soaring sea eagle, with a wingspan so great it seems to block out the very sun. Many lives have been lost in the Minch, and stories of hauntings and disappearances are carried on the waves. These are human stories, though, and the Minch is the domain of otherworldly beings too. A legend says that many generations ago, a host of angels fell from heaven to land upon the earth. Some of these angels went to dwell under the ground in magical hills with doors that open, sometimes, into the human world. They are known as the little people, the fairies. A second group of these angels were unwilling to give up the gift of flight, and so they took up residence in the skies. They are the merry dancers, and they may be seen over Scotland and north to Scandinavia on cold winter nights as they flicker here and there, green and pink and blue and gold. In Latin, they're called the Aurora Borealis, and in English, the Northern Lights. Still more of the fairies fell into the sea, and they became the Blue Men of Minch. Like the rest of their fallen kindred, they have little love for mortal creatures, and no sailor wishes to meet them as he crosses the treacherous waters of the strait. It's said that the Blue Men live in caves below the deep waters of the Shants, and the waters above their home flow fast and fierce regardless of the weather, dragging ships down to their doom. They're coloured grey-blue by the sea, with long faces and grey beards. When the water is calm, they float gently below the surface and pass the time in conversation and sport, being partial especially to a game of shinty. They're fine and witty poets, and have been known to challenge a skipper to finish a rhyme, or to lose his ship in the deep. Their leader is called Shoni, and he is their finest rhymer, a most fearsome fighter. Like the fairies, the Blue Men respect rules, and if a sailor can match Shoni's rhyming line by line, they will keep their side of the bargain and let him go. Once upon a time, a group of sailors was crossing the Minch when they spied a strange creature following in their wake. At first, they mistook it for a porpoise, for it leaped and twisted in the waves, poking its head clear of the spray to flip and twist around. They saw that it looked like a human, only blue. But it swam and skipped along in the wild wake of the ship at a speed no mortal creature could possibly achieve. The men fetched a net, and with some difficulty they cast it out behind the boat and caught the skipping creature in its folds. They hauled the net back on board with the creature inside and laid it out upon the deck. Now that it was close enough to inspect, they saw that they were right, and the creature was indeed shaped like a human, but it was as blue as the waves themselves. It lay trapped in the net and glared at them with its green-grey eyes. "We should throw it back to where it came from," one man said. "No good can come of having such a creature on board." "No," said the skipper. "We don't know what it means to do. It may drag us down with it into the deeps." "We should take it home and ask the minister what to do," a third man said. They all nodded at that, despite their misgivings, for their minister was the wisest man they knew. We can't leave it there in a net like a herring till we get home," said the third man. "There's no way to treat a magical creature." "No, it's not," said the skipper. "But we must bind its hands and its feet with a rope." He peered at the creature. "If you don't struggle," he said, "we won't hurt you." One man fetched a rope while the others took the creature from the net and held it still on the deck. They bound its hands and its feet, and it lay there like a landed fish, although it could breathe perfectly well out of the water. It glared, but it did not speak. It jerked its head in anger, and the men heard an ominous roll of thunder overhead. The sky grew dark, and there was a smell in the air that spoke of danger to come. The men felt fear in the pit of their bellies, and they hurried to turn the boat and head back to harbour. The wind was rising, and, as they had never heard it rise before, they struggled to reef the sails, ready to weather the storm. Some little way on, while the full circle of the sea still surrounded them, and the spray blinded them, and there was no land to be seen in any direction, one of the men called out in alarm. The others abandoned their tasks and lurched across the slippery deck to join him at the stern. He pointed into the waves, and they peered through the darkening afternoon. Two blue shapes were bouncing through the angry sea, rising proud from the spray, screeching and laughing in wild abandon. "Heaven help us," the skipper cried. "There are 2 more of them." Over the roar of the waves, the sailors heard the blue men call to one another. "Donald will be one man," one of them cried to the other. "Duncan will be the other," his companion called back. "Oh, what do they mean?" the skipper cried. "What do they plan to do?" Before the sailors had a chance to answer, the blue man on the deck leapt on his feet, as though the ropes had bound him were woven from nothing stronger than sand. He shouted in a deep roar, "Donald's voice I hear, and Duncan too is near, but no need of help has mighty Ian More." Then the blue man, called Ian More, ran past the sailors. He cleared the side of the boat and landed with a great splash by his fellows in the sea. He shook an angry fist at the sailors. "Count yourselves lucky, lads," he roared, "for you would never have made it home with me." Then he and his friends leapt out of the water like porpoises, turned in mid-air and headed back the way they'd come. As soon as they were out of sight, the wind died down, and the sea grew calm again. "I never wanted to come to sea," the eldest crewman said. "A field of barley and a cow, that's all I ever wanted." "Me neither," said the youngest man. "But my brother, as my father's croft, and I had little choice." "The sea is my greatest love," said the skipper, "but I've always known that she is a hard mistress, and today I feared she would call in the debt I owe to her." And he shook his head. "Heave to, lads, for I think we'll all welcome dry land under our feet tonight." They sailed home in safety, and no man of that crew ever cast his nets into the deep again without a quick prayer under his breath and a second glance at the hole he pulled in. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, I'll see you again soon for more story time with me, Mr. Westgate.